A final thought about emotion and social neuroscience. Within psychological cognition mostly, emotion, less emphasis about emotion, the instability, and maybe even strange or unusual feeling, uneasiness. A more directed approach, a more directed social awareness, consciousness, and friend choice and decision to not try to acknowledge an emotion, not try to decide what the emotion does, and misdirect a person by calling behavior emotions and energy emotions, and not making a person know or understand better what's taking place with their brain, body, and mind. And working towards a more beneficial viewpoint. The emotion of, sadness, and the assurance of comfort and warmth, from a loved one or someone, close to the person. But not extending so far out to reach, psychiatric options, as kind of like an analogy, the more like imaginative explanation, but, maybe more specific. A person's angry, a person's frustrated, upset, hungry, maybe even also, drug addict, possibly. In describing what's taking place in the person's brain, mind, and body as a whole, more as opportunity and choices for cognition with psychological parts of the brain, slower, deeper thinking and faster, energetic social language, streams of thought. And then calm, freedom, freedom to not have to decide on a name for the emotion or why the emotion has been noticeable. Not as big of a deal after time has kind of passed, It's like, okay, psychological cognition, and it's like, wow, you really got freaked out about that flashlight, And the stink guy comes out, the side stink guy. And psychological cognition for me, for the woman across the hall is the example with the flashlight. I said I was sorry today and said, and got the side eye, and I gave the heartfelt plea for forgiveness. Like, love your dog. I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing to like cause problems. With my attention. I'm Buddhist. Was taught to kind of start the process for crazy wisdom, like crazy wisdom. Okay, you're going on a zip line. Let's get motivated, inspired, ready, and let's meditate afterwards, like that big rush and that big calm down. But then that big up again with, mantra, mindfulness, and sound, alertness, and different incense. And then there's less interference, less trying to figure out what needs to get fixed, and more for a person to consciously discover. Then the simplicity in the statement of emotions and behavior and gesture and energy. Limiting hormones to make sure the emotion stays very, very, very small and tiny and minimal. And the person who says, to get you and your mind, or me and my mind, to not have that small, minimal tininess go boom, boom. And go, emotion. Emotion. Oh gosh, it's like, oh shit. Boom, boom. There's a boom and a. Oh, there's four boom, 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 boom. That's a boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Police. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, Secret Service. U.S. government. Boom. State police. Government. Watch list. People are less, I think, motivated to cause a simulated change cycle of benefit and reward and stimulating success. For systems and processes only in need of a place like Alaska in the wilderness, or like up in the Pacific Northwest here, like out in the, more rural parts of the state, to go back to their more fundamental beginnings. And those are those are kind of some of the reasoning for doing stuff like they're doing in cities like here in Seattle, Washington, Los Angeles, and like the big places on the West Coast, Portland. People culturally choose to be tribal or primitive, you know, and they feel good because they're having the freedom to do those choices and allowing the world to be hormonally strong, fit, full of energy, with the requirement in the world to be behaviorally, gesturally, language, and verbally coherent, truthful, and easy to understand. Mostly why I poke fun at emotions, you know, freak out my body and my brain, I think, are from me learning about mind and, you know, Buddhism and meditation and brain waves from neuroscience and, you know, being alpha and then theta and then beta. And then once in a while just going and being like delta. And then you go that way. Now, you know, I'm just you know, trying not to worry too much about medical school, you know. They start to see these videos and go, why are you doing that with your back? You know, are you in a bad mood or? And it's like, oh, shoot, wrong school. Get in class and they're like, okay, Mr. Psychological Cognition, are you getting the notes for this test in your face right now? Because you are not fucking thinking about what your thought process is doing with that freaking sloth next to you that's a stuffed animal. And the teacher turns around the board. The sloth jumps. Nobody says a word, you know. Oh, it's Superman, you know. It's just jumping across, you know, to get out of the world the professor made, you know, with their lecture. More motivated, more inspired, more eager to keep doing better with stuff like emotions when you are understanding the cognition, the processes in the system with the body, brain, mind, working together to be safe in the world and happy and, you know, have not only the positive emotions, but the heartfelt compassion and the, you know, love for life. You know, and less memories of people saying, you know, and, you know, total awareness, like, oh, I gotta end this. I got my bone broth and my chicken on the stove, you know, and I hope that chicken don't turn too overdone. I hope the emotion doesn't go, oh, see, and the chemical reactions change, you know, less of the wisdom, you know, like, oh, I know now, the confidence, and more of like, gosh darn, I get it. Now, the emotion makes sense, and what my body, brain, and mind are doing with the emotion are cool, you know, okay. And not a cause for panic. The end.